The train arrived in Red Willow just before sunset. Dust rose around the station as the iron wheels screamed against the tracks. Clara Whitmore stepped down with one small suitcase, one worn Bible from her mother, and one letter folded inside her glove. The letter had promised marriage, a home, a good man. But the moment she saw Edwin Price waiting near the station, her heart sank. He was older than he had written, colder, too. His smile looked less like welcome and more like ownership. "You are smaller than I expected," he said. Clara forced herself to breathe. "I am Clara. I know who you are." He took her suitcase without asking. "Come, the preacher can marry us tomorrow." The words chilled her. She had traveled hundreds of miles to become a mail-order bride because she had no family left and no future back east. But standing beside Edwin, she felt she had walked into a cage. That evening at his house, Clara discovered the truth. Edwin had lied about everything. There was no warm home, no kindness, no honest work, only debt, anger, and a man who wanted a wife to serve him. When Clara refused to marry him the next morning, Edwin's face darkened. "You came here for me. I came here believing your words. You belong to me now." Clara backed away. No woman belongs to any man. That night, she ran. She took only her small bag and fled into the darkness beyond town. By dawn, she was lost in the desert hills. Her shoes were torn. Her lips were dry, and still she walked behind her. Edwin and two hired men searched with horses. Ahead of her, the land grew wild and silent. By midday, Clara stumbled near a dry creek and fell to her knees. She tried to stand. She could not. The world blurred. Last thing she saw was a black horse standing above the ridge. Then a man appeared beside it. Tall, strong, silent, an Apache warrior. His name was Awen. He had been tracking a wounded deer when he found the woman collapsed in the dust. For a moment, he simply watched her. A white woman, alone in Apache land, usually meant trouble. But she was not a threat. She was dying of thirst. Awen knelt beside her and placed 2 fingers near her throat. Alive. Barely. He lifted his water flask to her lips. Clara opened her eyes for 1 second. She saw dark eyes filled not with cruelty, but calm strength. Then she fainted again. Awen looked toward the distant hills. 3 riders were moving far behind. Her searching, not helping, hunting. His face hardened. He lifted Clara carefully into his arms and carried her to his horse. By sunset, she was inside his small lodge near a hidden canyon. An elderly Apache woman named Yuma cleaned the wounds on her feet and gave her water mixed with herbs. When Clara finally woke, she panicked. Awen was sitting near the entrance. He raised one hand slowly. "You are safe." Clara stared at him. "Where am I?" "A place where the men chasing you will not find you." Her eyes filled with fear. "You saw them?" Awen nodded. Double quotes. "Yes." She looked away. "I was supposed to marry one of them." "Supposed to?" "I changed my mind." Awen studied her carefully. And he said something she would never forget. "Hey, forced promise is not honor." Clara looked at him in surprise. No man had ever spoken to her like that. Not with pity. Not with possession. With respect. Outside, night covered the canyon. Far away, Edwin Price rode through the dark with anger burning inside him. He did not intend to lose the woman he had ordered like property, but he did not yet know whose land he had entered, and he did not know that the Apache warrior who had found Clara was not a man who abandoned the helpless, Awen had given her. Shelter, Dot. And in his world, shelter was sacred. Dot. Clara woke before sunrise. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then she saw the woven blankets, the small fire, and the quiet shape of Awen sitting near the entrance. He had stayed awake all night, not close enough to frighten her, but close enough to protect her. The old woman, Yuma, gave Clara warm tea. "Drink slowly," she said. Clara obeyed. Her body still ached, but her mind was clearer. "Why are you helping me?" she asked Awen. Awen looked outside at the pale morning light. "Because no one should be left to die in the dust." The answer was simple. That made it stronger. Later that morning, Clara stepped outside the lodge. The hidden canyon was beautiful. Tall red walls rose around a small stream. Horses grazed nearby. Children played near the water, while women prepared food. It was not the frightening place Edwin would have described. It was alive. Peaceful. Human. Awen noticed her watching. "This is my home." Clara nodded softly. "It is beautiful." 4. The first time since arriving in Red Willow, she felt her chest loosen, but peace did not last long. By midday, one of Awen's scouts returned. 3 riders crossed the northern ridge. Awen's face hardened. Edwin. Clara heard the news and turned pale. "I should leave. I do not want to bring danger here." Awen looked at her. "Danger came when he chose to hunt you. He will say I belong to him." "No." Awen's voice was calm but firm. "You belong to yourself." The word struck Clara deeply. She had traveled west hoping to survive. She had not expected to hear freedom from a stranger. That afternoon, Edwin reached the edge of the canyon with his 2 men. He shouted from the ridge, "Clara, come out." No one answered. Awen walked into the open below. Edwin stared at him with disgust. "Where is the woman?" Awen did not move. "Safe. She is my bride." "She refused you." Edwin's face twisted. "That is not your concern." Awen stepped closer. When a frightened woman runs across the desert to escape a man, it becomes the concern of any honorable person. For a moment, silence filled the canyon. Edwin placed his hand near his gun. Awen's eyes did not change. He showed no fear. Only warning. One of Edwin's men whispered something and pulled him back. They were outnumbered. In Apache land, for now. Edwin forced a smile. "This is not over." Awen watched them ride away. Clara stood behind a rock wall, trembling. When Awen returned, she looked at him with tears in her eyes. "You could have sent me away." "I could have. Why didn't you?" Awen looked toward the ridge where Edwin had disappeared. "Because fear should not decide a woman's future." Clara did not know what to say. In that moment, something changed between them. Not love yet, but trust. And trust was the first stone of a bridge neither of them expected to build. The days that followed were peaceful. For the first time in many months, Clara slept without fear. She helped Yuma gather herbs near the stream. She learned the names of plants. She listened to stories told around the evening fires, and little by little, she began smiling again. Awen noticed. He never mentioned it, but he noticed everything. One afternoon, Clara accompanied him to the river where he was repairing fishing nets. "You speak very little," she said. Awen smiled faintly. "You speak enough for both of us." Clara laughed. The sound surprised even her. It had been a long time since laughter came so easily. As they worked, she found herself studying him. The warrior was respected by everyone. Children ran to greet him. The elders trusted him. Even the horses seemed calmer around him. Unlike Edwin, Awen never demanded respect. He earned it. Meanwhile, Edwin Price sat inside a saloon in red. Willow. His humiliation had become an obsession. The entire town knew the mail-order bride had run away. People whispered behind his back. Some even laughed. Edwin could not tolerate it. One evening, a stranger entered the saloon. He was a bounty hunter named Cutter Hayes, a dangerous man known for doing unpleasant jobs. Edwin offered him money. A lot of money. For what? Cutter asked. I want a woman brought back. The bounty hunter laughed. Just a woman? And the Apache protecting her. The smile vanished from Cutter's face. That changes the price. Edwin pushed a bag of coins across the table. It is worth every penny. Back in the canyon, danger was still far away. That evening, a storm rolled across the mountains. Heavy rain poured down. A small stream became a rushing river. Several horses broke free from their ropes during the chaos. One of them carried a frightened child from the village. The horse bolted toward the canyon entrance. People shouted. The child's mother screamed. Without hesitation, Awan mounted his black horse and raced after them. The frightened horse was heading straight toward a steep drop. Clara watched in horror. The distance closed rapidly. The child clung desperately to the saddle. Then Awan caught up. Riding alongside the runaway horse. He reached across and grabbed the boy. For one terrifying moment, both horses stumbled near the edge. Then Awan pulled the child safely into his arms. The entire village erupted with relief. Later that night, Clara found him sitting alone beside the fire. You risked your life. Awan shrugged. It was a child. Most people would not have done that. Awan looked into the flames. My father taught me something. What? The strong exist to protect the weak. Clara's eyes softened. No wonder everyone respected him. No wonder. She felt safe near him. For a moment, neither spoke. Storm continued outside, and their eyes met. Something passed between them. Something warm. Something neither was ready to name. Far away, however, Cutter Hayes was already following their trail. And unlike Edwin, he was patient. Very patient. The real trouble was finally on its way. Several days passed. The canyon seemed peaceful, but Awan sensed something was wrong. Tracks had appeared near the northern ridge. Fresh tracks. Someone was watching. One morning, he left before sunrise to investigate. Clara watched him disappear into the hills. She had grown used to seeing him every day. Now she felt strangely uneasy when he was gone. By midday, Awan discovered the truth. A stranger had entered Apache territory. A skilled rider. A skilled tracker. Not a rancher. Not a traveler. A hunter. The tracks led toward the canyon. Awan immediately turned back. Meanwhile, Clara and Yuma were gathering herbs near the stream when a voice suddenly echoed behind them. Well, there you are. Clara froze. A tall man sat on horseback a short distance away. His cold eyes studied her carefully. Cutter Hayes, the bounty hunter. Yuma instantly moved. Clara behind her. What do you want? Cutter smiled. The woman. Clara's heart began racing. I am not going anywhere. The bounty hunter shrugged. You don't get a choice. Several villagers quickly arrived after hearing the commotion. Cutter realized he was outnumbered. For the moment, he raised both hands. Peacefully, I came to talk. No one believed him, especially Clara. Then Awan arrived. His horse appeared on the ridge like a shadow. the moment Cutter saw him. He understood why Edwin hated this Apache warrior. Awen possessed something many men lacked, honor, and confidence, without saying a word. Awen rode down toward them. Cutter smiled. You must be Awen, and you must be the man following my people. The bounty hunter laughed. I follow. Money. Awen dismounted. You have found neither. For a moment the two men stared at each other. The tension was obvious. Finally Cutter spoke. The woman belongs in Red Willow. Clara stepped forward. No. Everyone looked at her. Her voice was stronger than before. I belong where I choose. Awen's expression softened slightly. Cutter noticed and suddenly he understood. This was no longer just about protection. Feelings had begun to grow between them. That discovery gave him a new idea, a dangerous idea. Smiled. Interesting. Then he turned his horse. I'll be back. Awen watched him disappear beyond the hills. Later that evening, the village elders gathered. Everyone agreed on one thing. Cutter Hayes would not quit. Men like him never did. That night, Clara sat beside the fire. She looked worried. I am bringing trouble to your people. Awen shook his head. You did not create this trouble, but it follows me. Awen looked into the flames. Then we face it together. Clara looked at him. The words warmed her heart more than the fire ever could. For a moment, neither looked away, neither spoke, but both felt it. The bond between them was becoming impossible to ignore. Far away, Cutter Hayes arrived in Red Willow. Edwin was waiting. Did you find her? Cutter nodded. Yes. And a slow smile appeared on the bounty hunter's face. I also found the Apache's weakness. Edwin leaned forward. What weakness? Cutter looked toward the dark horizon. The woman. For the first time, a truly dangerous plan began taking shape. The next morning, Awen increased the guards around this canyon. No one complained. Everyone understood the danger. Cutter Hayes was not like ordinary outlaws. He was patient, and patient enemies were often the most dangerous. For several days, nothing happened. No tracks. No sightings. No trouble. That worried Awen even more. Meanwhile, Clara continued helping around the village, but she noticed something had changed. Awen rarely left her side for long. He never said why. He never treated her like someone weak. He simply stayed close. One afternoon, they rode together to gather supplies from a distant spring. The journey was peaceful. For hours they traveled beneath a bright blue sky. Eventually they stopped near a grove of cottonwood trees while their horses drank. Clara sat beside the water. Awen joined her. Neither spoke at first. Then Clara broke the silence. Why did you never marry? Awen looked toward the mountains. I loved someone once. The answer surprised her. What happened? Fever. The single word carried years of pain. Clara lowered her eyes. I am sorry. Awen nodded quietly. For a long moment neither spoke, then Clara shared her own story. She told him about losing her parents, about loneliness. About the desperation that had pushed her toward becoming a mail-order bride. When she finished, Awen looked at her. You crossed half a continent searching for a better life. Clara laughed softly. And somehow I found an Apache canyon instead. For the first time, Awen laughed with her. The sound made Clara smile. Neither noticed a pair of eyes watching from a distant ridge. Cutter Hayes, the bounty hunter, had followed them all. Morning. Now, he finally understood the truth. Apache warrior loved the woman, and she loved him. That evening, Cutter rode to meet Edwin. "I have a plan." Edwin leaned forward eagerly. "What kind of plan?" "The kind that brings her back." Several days later, the trap was set. A frightened young boy arrived at the canyon just before sunset. He claimed his family had been attacked by bandits near the northern hills. The villagers immediately wanted to help. Awen volunteered to go. Something about the story felt strange, but he could not ignore a child asking for help. Before leaving, he found Clara near the stream. "I will return tomorrow." Clara smiled. "I know." For a moment, neither moved. Then Awen gently touched her hand. A simple gesture, yet it said more than words. As night fell, Awen rode north with several warriors. The moment they disappeared into the darkness, the boy's frightened expression vanished. He smiled. Far away, Cutter Hayes watched from the shadows. The first part of his trap had worked perfectly. The canyon's strongest protector was gone, and Clara was now vulnerable. Very vulnerable. The morning after Awen left, the canyon felt strangely empty. Clara tried to focus on her work, but something felt wrong. She could not explain it. Several times she found herself looking toward the northern hills. Waiting. Meanwhile, Awen and his warriors followed the young boy toward the location where the attack had supposedly happened. Hour after hour passed. No burned wagons. No injured family. No sign of trouble. Only silence. Finally, one of the warriors approached. "There is no family." Awen nodded. He had already reached the same conclusion. The boy began trembling, not from fear, from guilt. Awen knelt beside him. "Who sent you?" The child lowered his head. "The white man? Cutter Hayes?" The boy nodded. Awen immediately stood. The trap was never meant for him. It was meant for Clara. Back at the canyon, the second part of Cutter's plan was already unfolding. Near sunset, several riders approached carrying a white flag. The guards stopped them. Edwin Price rode at the front. I came peacefully. No one trusted him, especially Clara. Edwin looked directly at her. "You can end all of this. I owe you nothing." His expression hardened. "Come with me and no one gets hurt." Before Clara could answer, Cutter appeared on a nearby ridge with several armed men. The white flag had been a lie. Ambush had begun. The villagers rushed to protect the children and elders. Cutter smiled. "I only want the woman." No one moved. Clara stepped forward. "If I go with you, will you leave them alone?" Several villagers immediately protested. But Cutter nodded. Double quotes, yes. He was lying. Clara knew it. Yet she also knew innocent people could be hurt. Before anyone could stop her, she walked toward the riders. Edwin grabbed her arm. A cruel smile crossed his face. At that exact moment, a voice thundered across the canyon. "Take your hand off her." Every head turned. Awen had returned. His horse charged down the canyon trail like a storm. The Apache warriors followed behind him. Cutter's smile vanished. His trap had failed. Again. Awen rode directly between Clara and the men threatening her. His eyes locked onto Cutter. Then onto Edwin. For the first time, genuine fear appeared on Edwin's face. Awen looked at Clara. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. Relief flashed briefly across his face. Then he turned back toward the men. His expression became cold as stone. "You came into my home." Silence filled the canyon. "And now," Awen said quietly, "you will leave." But Cutter Hayes slowly reached for his rifle, and everyone knew the next few seconds would decide everything. For a long moment, nobody moved. The evening wind swept. Through the canyon, Cutter Hayes and Awen stared at each other. Both men understood what came next, and Cutter reached for his rifle. He never got the chance. Awen was faster, in one motion. He knocked the weapon from Cutter's hand. Chaos erupted. The bounty hunter's men scattered for cover. Apache warriors rushed forward. The canyon echoed with shouts. And HOOFBEATS. Meanwhile, Edwin grabbed Clara and tried to drag her toward a horse. "You're coming with me." Clara fought back. "No." Edwin tightened his grip. For years he had believed. He could own people. He still believed. It suddenly a powerful hand seized his shoulder. Awen. The Apache warrior pulled him away from Clara and threw him to the ground. Edwin looked up in terror. For the first time, there was no one to hide behind. No hired men. No bounty hunter. Only himself and the consequences of his actions. "You hunted her across the desert," Awen said. "You threatened my people." Edwin scrambled backward. "She belongs to me." The words filled the canyon with silence. Then Clara stepped forward. "No, her." Voice was steady. "I never did." Even Edwin seemed stunned by her confidence. She was no longer the frightened woman who had arrived in Red Willow. She had changed. Awen had helped her remember her own strength. Nearby, Cutter realized the battle was lost. Most of his men had already surrendered or fled. Bounty Hunter mounted a horse and escaped through a narrow pass before anyone could stop him. The danger was not completely over, but the canyon was safe. For now. Later that night, the villagers celebrated their victory. Fires burned. Brightly. Music filled the air. Yet, Clara sat quietly near the stream. Too much had happened. Too many emotions filled her heart. Awen found her. "There. Are you all right?" She nodded. Then she looked at him. "You came back." Awen smiled. "I said I would." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Clara stepped closer. "I was afraid." "So was I." The answer surprised her. "You were?" Awen nodded. "I was afraid I would return too late." The honesty in his voice touched her deeply. For the first time, Clara placed her hand in his. Neither pulled away. The stars reflected in the water. The world felt very small. Very quiet. Very right, but high on a distant ridge. Cutter Hayes watched the canyon through a spyglass. His face was dark with anger. He had lost, yet he refused to accept defeat. As he turned his horse toward the mountains, only one thought filled his mind. If he could not take Clara for money, then he would take revenge. And the greatest danger of all was still waiting ahead. The following days were peaceful. Too peaceful. Awen did not trust it. Men like Cutter Hayes rarely accepted defeat. The bounty hunter had escaped with his pride wounded. That made him dangerous. One evening, scouts returned with troubling news. They had discovered fresh tracks near the eastern mountains. Only one rider, but the tracks appeared again and again. Watching. Waiting. Awen immediately knew who it was. Cutter. Meanwhile, Clara's life in the canyon continued. She no longer felt like a guest. She belonged. The women treated her like family. The children sought her out every day. Even the elders trusted her. One afternoon, Yuma smiled while watching Clara and Awen together. "You love him." Clara nearly dropped the basket she was carrying. "I do not know what you mean." Yuma laughed. "At my age, I know exactly what I mean." Clara could not stop smiling. For the first time, she admitted the truth to herself. She loved him. That same evening, Awen sat beside the stream alone. He was thinking about Clara when a scout arrived at full speed. There is trouble. Awen stood immediately. What happened? A supply wagon from Red Willow was attacked. The scout paused. The survivors say Cutter Hayes was responsible. Awen frowned. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Cutter was not a robber. He was sending a message. The next morning, Awen rode out with several warriors to investigate. They found the damaged wagon. They found frightened travelers. And they found something else. A note. Cutter had left it deliberately. Awen unfolded the paper. Only a few words were written. Bring the woman. Or others will suffer. The warriors exchanged angry looks. The threat was obvious. Back in the canyon, Clara listened as Awen explained everything. The color drained from her face. This is my fault. No. Awen's voice was firm. This is Cutter's choice. He wants me. He wants control. Clara looked away. I should leave. The words shocked everyone. Awen stared at her. No. If I go, this ends. Awen stepped closer. It will not end. The truth was clear. Cutter would never stop. Not after all this. That night, Clara sat alone beneath the stars. She felt trapped. People had suffered because of her before. She could not bear the thought of it happening again not far away. Hidden among the mountains, Cutter Hayes watched a distant campfire through the darkness. He smiled. The pressure was working. Sooner or later, someone would make a mistake. And when they did, he would finally get what he wanted. But Cutter had overlooked one thing. The people of the canyon were no longer protecting Clara because she needed shelter. They were protecting family. And family was something the Apache never abandoned. The next morning, Clara was gone. Her blankets were neatly folded. Her few belongings had disappeared. Only a letter remained. Awen found it beside the fire. His heart sank as he opened it. The handwriting was unmistakable. I cannot allow more innocent people to suffer because of me. You gave me safety when I had none. You gave me respect when others offered only control. You gave me a soul. Home, because I love you. I must leave. Please do not follow me. Clara. For a long moment, Awen stood motionless. The canyon around him seemed strangely silent. Then he folded the letter carefully. No. The word was barely a whisper. He knew Clara. She believed she was protecting everyone. But Cutter Hayes wanted exactly this. He wanted her. Isolated. Alone. Vulnerable. Meanwhile, Clara rode south toward an abandoned trading post. Mentioned in Cutter's note, the bounty hunter had promised that if she came alone, he would leave the canyon forever. She did not trust him, but she hoped. By late afternoon she reached the trading post. The place was deserted. Broken walls collapsed. Roofs. Silence. Then a slow clap echoed from the shadows. Cutter Hayes stepped into view. You actually came. Clara immediately realized her mistake. Several armed men appeared around the ruins. Promise had been a lie. Just another lie. Cutter smiled. They always sacrifice themselves. You promised to leave them alone. I promised many things. Fear touched Clara's heart, but anger quickly replaced it. She was tired of running. Tired of being hunted. Tired of men trying to decide her future. Back in the canyon, Awen was already tracking her. He had left immediately after reading the letter. The trail was easy to follow. Clara had never learned how to hide her tracks. As the sun began to set, Awen discovered fresh horse prints. And another set beside them. Cutter's. His jaw tightened. The situation was worse than he feared. At the trading post, Cutter approached Clara. "The Apache cannot protect you." "Now." Clara looked directly into his eyes. "You know nothing about him." Cutter laughed. "No, but I know people." Suddenly, a voice echoed across the ruins. "No." Every head turned. Awen stood at the edge of the trading post, alone. His black horse behind him. His expression calm. Deadly calm. Clara felt relief wash over her. He came. Of course, he came. Cutter sighed. "You Apache people never learn?" Awen's eyes never left him. "You threatened my family." The word surprised Clara. Family. Not responsibility. Not duty. Family. For the first time, Cutter looked uncertain, because he suddenly realized something. Awen was no longer fighting to protect a guest. He was fighting for the woman he loved, and there are few things more dangerous than an honorable man defending the people he loves. As darkness settled over the old trading post, both sides prepared themselves. The final confrontation had arrived. Night settled over the abandoned trading post. The wind moved through broken windows and empty doorways. Cutter Hayes stood, surrounded by armed men. Awen stood alone. At least that was what Cutter believed. He smiled. "You came by yourself." Awen's expression never changed. "I only need to come once." The bounty hunter laughed. Then he gave the order. "Take him." Several men rushed forward. What happened next lasted only seconds. Awen moved with calm precision. One man lost his weapon. Another stumbled backward. A third immediately surrendered after realizing he was facing a warrior far more dangerous than he expected. The remaining men hesitated. They had been hired for money. Not for this. For a fight they might lose. And Apache warriors appeared on the surrounding ridges. They had followed Awen's trail. Trading post was suddenly surrounded. Cutter's confidence vanished. For the first time, he understood the truth. He had lost. Again. Several of his men threw down their weapons. Others fled into the darkness. Only Cutter remained. His anger had become stronger than his judgment. He drew a pistol and aimed directly at Clara. "If I cannot have the reward, nobody leaves happy." Before he could act, Clara stepped forward. She was no longer the frightened woman who had arrived in Red Willow. She stood tall. Fearless. And that moment of hesitation was enough. Awen closed the distance and disarmed. Cutter. The pistol hit the ground. The fight was over. The bounty hunter stared around him. No allies. No escape. No victory. Only failure. The Apache warriors took him away. His reign of fear had finally ended. As silence returned to the trading post, Clara looked at Awen. For a moment neither spoke. Then Clara smiled through tears. "You followed me." Awen stepped closer. "Of course. I told you not to." A faint smile appeared on his face. "I ignored that part." Clara laughed. The sound echoed through the old buildings. Then she wrapped her arms around him. For the first time, neither hid what they felt. There were no more enemies. No more lies. No more running. Only truth. Several months later, the canyon celebrated once again. Families gathered beside the stream. Children danced. Music filled the evening air. The elders smiled. As Awen and Clara stood before the entire community, the woman who had arrived in the West searching for a husband had found something far greater than she ever imagined. Not ownership. Not obligation. Not a transaction. She had found love, and the Apache warrior, who had once believed he would spend the rest of his life alone, had found a second chance at happiness. As the sun set behind the canyon walls, Awen took Clara's hand. The people cheered. The future stretched before them. Bright. Peaceful. Full of hope. And Clara finally understood something. Sometimes the road that seems lost is the very road that leads home. The end.